Today we have returning Dr. J. Ken Edwards. Dr. Edwards, the Bible Hour speaker at the Charlotte Convention in 2001. Dr. Edwards is passionate about preaching and leadership. His ambition is to change people's lives with the Word of God and help others to do the same. Dr. Edwards is professor of preaching and leadership and director of the Doctor of Ministry program at Talbot School of Theology, Biola University in La Mirada, California. Previously, he served on the faculty and as the director of Doctor of Ministry programs at Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary. Dr. Edwards has published numerous articles, presented papers in the area of homiletics. He has contributed to 2 books on preaching and is the author of Effective First-Person Biblical Preaching and Deep Preaching. He is past president of the Evangelical Homiletic Society, current executive board member of the Association for Doctor of Ministry Education, and is editor of the Journal of Christian Ministry. As an ordained minister with the Christian and Missionary Alliance, Dr. Edwards has over 25 years of pastoral experience. In addition to serving as solo, senior, and interim pastor, he has planted 2 thriving churches. He currently serves as senior pastor of the Woodland Hills Church near Burbank, California. Known for his preaching, Dr. Edwards has extensive experience as a conference and seminar speaker. Kent and his wife Nola reside in Southern California and have 2 sons, Nathan and Jonathan. He's coming this morning to present a paper on the work of the leader. Dr. Edwards. Bless you, brother.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me back. It was a few years ago now when I had the opportunity to speak to you at your international convention back in Charlotte. Some of you may remember that. Many things are still the same. Many familiar faces. It's good to see you. But many things have changed. Just before I got up here, did you see they got rid of the teleprompters? Teleprompters at the Gideons? I was in shock. I was telling people at breakfast this morning about how things changed back from 2001. Back in 2001, we were having our prayer time before I came up to speak the very first time. And as we were praying together, I mentioned to one of the guys, I said, well, what about my lapel mic? And he kind of looked at me and didn't know what to say. And I asked somebody else, and they scurried around. It wasn't until a couple of years later that Colonel Jim Lake told me that in 101 years, no one had ever used a lapel mic. They didn't know what to do. It totally threw them. And then I came up to speak, and there was only one video camera right in front, and the guy who was operating it was eating a sandwich, which I thought was a little unusual, eating a sandwich, but, well, I don't preach with notes, so what I did was begin and give my introduction and then begin to walk away. Well, the guy working the camera threw the sandwich in the air, began trying to move. In 101 years, nobody had ever moved away from this podium. So I got to tell you this morning, I'm in a bit of shock. It's a little culture shock for me. I'm trying my best to get used to this, but boy, things have changed in the years since I've been away, and that sounds great. It's also changed because the program committee asked me this morning not to give a sermon in a traditional sense. I'm going to do that tonight and other times, but for this morning and for tomorrow morning, they've asked if I would talk to you about a subject, give a paper, they call it. In school, we call it a lecture. I want to talk to you a bit about leadership, because as a group of Christian professional business people, we are leaders, right? So as leaders, wouldn't it be nice to know how to lead effectively? What I'd like to do is share with you some insights on how just to do that. I would like to share with you an insight on how to leadership that works in the 21st century, because it would be nice to know leadership that works, wouldn't it be? Can you see that? You can see that. Okay, I can. Good. Leadership that works. It's up there. Perfect. I want to share with you a principle that I think works regardless of what kind of business you're in, what kind of organization you're leading. The principle that I think I'm going to share with you this morning will help you regardless of the situation that you're in. I want to begin with a quiz. I drive past this sign in Los Angeles a couple of times a week, so I'm familiar with Hollywood. Do you know your movies? Are you a movie buff? Probably not. What I want you to do is guess, though, if you know the following movies. And I can't hear very well, but you have to shout out if you know the name of the following movies. Okay, you ready? Here's your quiz. Toy Story. Okay, we got that one. You got that one. Next one. Bug's Life. Okay, next one. Toy Story 2. We got that one. Okay. Next one. Monsters, Inc. Next one. Finding Nemo. Next one. The Incredibles. Okay, the next one. Cars. The next one. Ratatouille. The next one. Wall-E. And if you're current, see if you can get this one. If you missed it, it's written right on it. This was a gimme, because you never want anyone to fail a test entirely. You got to give them one. The fact is, many of us know these movies. What's fascinating is all of these movies are made by exactly the same company. Did you know that? They were made by Pixar. Pixar is the only production house that can come up with this many winners in a row. Every single one of the 10 movies they've released since 1995 has been a blockbuster. Every single one. Nobody does as well as Pixar. Not even Steven Spielberg is as effective as Pixar. Pixar is the leader. Everything they do is a winner. Wow. How do they do that? Pixar has 3 operating principles. The Harvard Business Review last fall came out and they interviewed the executives of Pixar, and they said 3 things we do. Everyone, they said, must have the freedom to communicate with anyone. I don't care what the organizational structure is for decision making, but if you got a question, you can go to anyone to help you succeed in your job. Open communication. Secondly, safe environment for everyone to offer ideas. They spend the end of every day showing the rough work that they've done to all of their colleagues and asking for input. There is collaboration to the nth degree. In fact, they've even designed their building. Steve Jobs was on their board of directors a few years ago. He designed their building so they had to interact with one another. Offices are on the outside, but in the middle of a wonderful atrium and open-spaced area, there are 2 things that bring people out. So they must mingle. You know what those are? Food. Food brings them out. That's where they eat. You know what else they have in the middle? Washrooms. They don't want you to stay in their office. They want their people to come together. They want them to collaborate. They want them to communicate. And thirdly, they want to stay close to the academic community. They want to learn from academia. They want to teach academia and have academia teach them. They are highly collaborative. Highly collaborative. All these 3 things mean people have to work together in order to succeed. Let me ask you another question. Let's move on from movies. Because the principle that these people are using is, no one is as smart as everybody. No one is as smart as everyone. Did you get that? Steven Spielberg is really smart, right? But he's not smarter than everyone. And when you bring everyone together to collaborate, you're smarter than one person. So Pixar keeps coming out with hit after hit after hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. Moving on from the movies, let's go to something completely different. Let's talk about armies. Which nation has the most effective fighting force in the world today? USA. Thank you very much. Why is it the most effective force? Why is it so good? Some people will say it's got the best equipment. Yeah, it's got the phenomenal equipment, but that's not what makes an army good. Lots of armies who have had good equipment have lost armies who have had bad equipment through the years, right? Equipment is not enough. What makes this army so good is because they've changed the way they think. Old school planning was this way. Old school planning started with the president, then went down to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, then went to the Joint Chiefs, and then it went on down the line until they had detailed orders for every foot soldier about exactly what to do in every situation. Go in, turn left, take this, do the other, do the other. They were tremendously detailed until a number of years ago, one very foresighted man called Colonel Tom Kolditz realized the obvious. Unpredictable things happen in battle. You can't predict everything that's going to happen. The enemy gets a vote. The weather changes. A key asset is destroyed. And if people are running by the script, they won't know what to do. So what he suggested is that because no plan survives contact with the enemy, he changed and said, in addition to giving people orders, we want to make sure they get what he called commander's intent. Commander's intent. Built into every set of orders is commander's intent. What is that? It's a crisp, plain talk statement that explains exactly the objective, the overall purpose of the mission that the soldiers are going out to. They have to understand, Kolditz says, the core idea. Don't tell them just to go in and take the tower. Tell them that they have to provide sniper cover for the soldiers. Because what if they go into the town and the tower is destroyed? Things will change. The enemy gets a vote. So put on a clear statement of the idea so every soldier knows if we do nothing else during tomorrow's mission, we must do this. The single most important thing that we must do is this. Because ultimately, the bosses say, I don't care how you provide sniper cover, just do it. Any way that works, do it. Don't wait to be told everything. Do it. And what they've discovered is that as soon as the people know what the intent is, they begin generating their own solutions. They become problem solvers. So that the generals, the officers realize that by having commander's intent, they free the soldiers to contribute to the success of the mission by using their own head, by using their own skills, their own training. The U.S. Army succeeds because they know no one is as smart as everyone. No officer is as smart as every single boot on the ground. No way. They need to work together. That's why the Army succeeds. Let me give you another example. Let's move away from movies. Let's move away from armies. Let's look at another example. How about we talk about, how about coffee? Who's the #1 coffee retailer in the world? Starbucks. Unless you're in New England, then it's Dunkin' Donuts, right? That's just a small little anomaly. All right, it's Starbucks. Howard Schultz had a dream, the founder of Starbucks. You know what his dream was? To open one store in Portland, Oregon. He accomplished that. He accomplished more than that. There are now over 17,000 Starbucks worldwide. Not bad. They have 160,000 employees in 49 countries, 50 million customer visits a week. That's a lot of people spending a lot of money for a lot of coffee. Starbucks is doing something right, wouldn't you say? Something a lot of other organizations wish they were doing to be as successful as they are. Why in the world is Starbucks so successful? 2 reasons, if you read the literature. One is they know their purpose. Second of all, they empower their people to implement that purpose. They know what they're doing, and they want their employees, their associates, to help them make it happen. They want them to meaningfully contribute to the mission of the organization. The purpose is interesting. You would think that the purpose of Starbucks was to sell coffee, right? That's not true. The purpose of Starbucks is to create what they call the third place, a place that you love to go to. If your first place is your home, and your second place is your place of work, the third place they want you to hang out with and spend time with friends at is Starbucks. They want you to end up there. As one barista put it, we are not in the coffee business serving people, but we are in the people business serving coffee. The goal is to connect with people, make people feel at home, and they serve coffee because coffee helps them do that. Their business is people. And to accomplish that, they empower their people. Have you ever been in a store where everyone is taught a script? Where everyone has got lines to memorize? Where you know that how they greet you and what they say to you is exactly what they've said and how they've greeted every other person who has entered that establishment for the past 20 years? Doesn't that make you feel special? They don't teach scripts at Starbucks. They give them principles. These are the 5 principles they give them and say, we'll give you principles, but you apply them. You have to have the wisdom to know how to apply them in your situations. We want you to live them out. We need your energy, your enthusiasm, your intelligence to help us accomplish our mission. They tell stories. They tell a story in their training time about a woman who would come in and every week order sticky bun and coffee. But she was distant and emotionally unconnected with the baristas, the people working there. Didn't seem to want to talk. She seemed agitated. But they kept trying to befriend her. Week after week, this woman came in and ordered her sticky bun and her coffee and wouldn't even eat in the store, went out to the car, would eat out there. This went on for many months, and they kept impressing, working with her, trying to build a relationship. And one day things changed. One day the woman came and said, no, I'll take my sticky bun and coffee, but I'll eat it in the store. They said, why? Why the change? The woman said, my husband suffered from cancer for the past few years. And every time we'd go for his treatments, he would be unable to eat. But the one thing he could get down was a sticky bun and Starbucks coffee. So every time after treatment I would come, buy that for him. We'd sit in the car and he could eat. He could be refreshed. These were special times. They tell that story because they want people to know that they're to care for people, whether they respond or not, because you don't know what's going in someone's life. So care, so care. They don't tell them exactly how to care, but they say, do it. You apply it in your situation. I want you to innovate. We want you to collaborate. We want you to help us work together to accomplish our goal. Why? Because no one is as smart as everyone. Together, the organization knows that they can accomplish more than they ever could separate. We want you to be an active, meaningful part of this organization. That's why Starbucks succeeds. By the way, I skipped over something. You know, Walmart's a pretty successful company, right? They sell a lot of product here in the US. Do you know they failed in Korea? They spent a lot of money to set up stores in South Korea, and it was their biggest failure ever. You know why? They didn't listen. They didn't ask Koreans what stores should be like. They didn't get input. They came saying, we know best. We understand retailing better than anyone. We're the giant. We're number one. They went into Korea, said, just listen to us, follow our script, and it did not work, and it was a disaster. Starbucks went into Japan and sold coffee, and no one in Japan drinks coffee. What do they drink in Japan? Tea. They went into Japan and said, how are we going to do this here? And they listened to the people, and they said, nobody cares about coffee here. The only coffee they drink is that instant coffee, the kind that's in vending machines. You put in your money and that's awful stuff. That's all they drink. So they came and they decided, we're going to educate the people. We're going to make them connoisseurs of coffee. They sell coffee in Japan the way Japanese want to buy coffee. They sell it as if it's a great delicacy. They sell it like it's fine wine. They changed the way they do business in order to succeed. They listened to the people. They collaborated. And they succeeded where Walmart failed. Because they know that no one is as smart as everyone. That's true for movies. That's true for military. That's true for coffee. Could that be true for your business? For the organization you lead? Are you smarter than everyone? I'm suggesting we employ what I call Wiki-Leadership. Isn't that a strange name? Wiki-Leadership is a new paradigm for leadership today. First question you're probably asking is, what in the world is a wiki? Wiki actually comes from the buses that run around Hawaii. If you look at them, if you're in Hawaii next time, they say wiki wiki right on the front, which means fast, fast. They go fast. They take you, these are buses that take you from terminals to the airport. They take you fast, fast. And it means fast. It was invented for the World Wide Web, used for the World Wide Web, in order to do things quickly. It's used by Jimmy Wales, who started Wikipedia. He'd started an earlier project called Newpedia a couple of years before that, but it was a colossal failure. The encyclopedia didn't work, the Newpedia didn't work, because it was a top-down structured kind of leadership style, with him trying to tell everyone what to do. It just was a disaster. And in desperation, with no money, he said, if I can't do it the old way, let's try a new way. Maybe if other people contributed, if other people helped, we could do with many people what I couldn't do alone. And he had a small ambition to collect and summarize all human knowledge. That's all he wanted to do, make it available, and he succeeded. He succeeded because he didn't try to do it alone. He didn't think he was the smartest person in the room. There are 75,000 contributors to Wikipedia, working in more than 13 million articles in more than 260 languages. As of yesterday, there were 2,963,241 articles in English. It is the most successful encyclopedia in the history of the world. By the way, old school encyclopedia was called what? What was that old encyclopedia called? Encyclopedia what? Britannica. Guess what happened to Encyclopedia Britannica? It's almost out of business. Almost out of business. Wikipedia has overwhelmed it, because when you use the power of everyone, that's smarter than using the power of a few. It's called collaboration. Wikipedia gets 65 million visitors a month. That's huge. That's huge. Wildly successful. And it works because no one is as smart as everyone. No one is as smart as everyone. Why has it thrived? They have a clear purpose. He wants to get the world's information out, disseminated. He wants it to be available to everyone. And he wants to do that, he's doing that by allowing people to, notice what I said, make a meaningful contribution that fits their interests and abilities. If you're an expert in knitting, he wants you to write an article on knitting. If you're an expert in botany, then help them put information together on botany. If you know everything there is to know about stamp collecting, on the early American stamps, then write on that. Whatever your expertise is, he wants you to contribute your uniqueness to this huge project. That's why it's succeeding. So what is Wiki-Leadership? Wiki-Leadership, like its namesake, encourages mass collaboration. A wiki leader says, I am not the answer to everyone's problems. I am not Superman. I need your help. I need you to help me. We need to together to collaborate. Wiki-Leadership challenges the Superman theory. No one is smarter than everyone. So you allow other people to make a meaningful, substantive contribution to the purpose at hand. Who wants wiki leadership? Answer is everyone. Anyone under 30 wants wiki leadership. Anyone under 30 wants to be involved in their business. They want to be able to be allowed to make a meaningful contribution to their work in the world. Anyone in an older generation wants to do. What do you want to do in your retirement years? When you finally finish with work, what do you want to do? Accomplish your goals, right? Your ambition. Do what you want to do, not what the boss tells you to do. You want to do your thing. Welcome to Wiki Leadership. Wiki Leadership makes that possible. And all the best theorists are recognizing that. Tom Malone says that when people make their own decisions about how to do their work and allocate their time, they often put more energy, effort, and creativity into their jobs. If you want to get the most out of people, allow them to make a meaningful contribution to the work that they are doing. Well, let me ask you a question, though. If I let go and I allow people to make a meaningful contribution, is that right? Is it biblical? Let me ask you a question. Is God a wiki leader? Is God a wiki leader? Does God have a purpose, a goal that He wants to accomplish in this world? Does He? Yes, He does. He's the Alpha and the Omega. He knows the beginning and the end. He has an overarching plan. He has a purpose. He has a vision. A wiki leader is not a weak leader. A wiki leader knows where they are going. But does God give us the freedom to innovate within His overarching plan? To make a meaningful individual contribution to His purpose in the world? Does God allow us to do that? Yes, He does. Yes, He does. Do you know the parable of the 10 minas in Luke 19? The rich man comes to his servants and he gives them a substantial amount of money and he says what to them? Invest it. Use it. Use it for my glory. Use it for my benefit. Does he tell them exactly how to do it? Does he tell them what investments to make? No, he does not. He gives them a task, but he says, I want you to make it happen. However, you think it should happen the best. Use your own initiative, your own training, your own background. You invest yourself into this. He doesn't tell you what you should be when you grow up, does he? God says, I want you to figure out how you can make your best contribution to my plan in the world, and I want you to do it. Whatever that looks like for you, do it. It's as if God has got a coloring book. And He draws the lines out for what He wants to happen in this world. And then He says to us, color inside my lines any way you like. Bring your expertise, bring your skill, bring your abilities, bring all you've got to the table. Bring it here. That's what Wiki Leadership does. A Wiki leader draws the lines and allows other people to make a meaningful contribution to color within. It's letting other people be recognized as having something significant to contribute to the goal at hand. 1 Corinthians 3 says that we are God's fellow workers. Do you know that? We are not God's slaves. Do you know that? When God's people were in slavery, when they had no choices, when they were just considered machines and had no way to contribute to the work around them, God liberated. He sent Moses to save them so they could make a meaningful contribution in His work in the world. Does God allow His people to genuinely and uniquely contribute to His work? Yes. He does. He asks you to make that contribution to His work. And I think a wiki leader will allow their people to do exactly the same thing. Come, contribute to this goal by bringing your best to the table. Collaboration is the key. Why is Pixar so successful? Why is the US military the most powerful? Why does Starbucks sell so much coffee at $4 and $5 a cup? Because no one is as smart as everyone. They know it. They draw on those resources, and that makes them successful. And besides, if God does it, I think it's a pretty good idea.